Thus saith the Lord unto Esdras, Tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel. Fear not, thou mother of the children, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord. For thy help will I send my servants Esau and Jeremy.
This to me is the greatest twist ever written, the greatest conspiracy ever conspired.
Trusted, but neither can I. I pray for forgiveness with my head to the sky. I try to relate as if you were I, or I were you. See eye to eye.
There's this really strange, almost supernatural thing going on with the Bible. It's like a lot of the really important things that are in the Bible are taught differently than what they actually are. It's skewed, it's changed, it's manipulated. And there's these things that people say that are in the Bible or that the Bible says, and they're not actually in there. It doesn't actually say that. And it's constantly perpetuated by people who teach crowds of people these things. And those same people, they all went to the same schools that taught the same kinds of things. And nobody's actually really picking up the book and just reading it for what it says.
I'm looking at the book of Genesis as a single book. It is the very first book in the Bible, and I'm trying to understand what the writer is expecting the reader to understand. And the writer of Genesis adds in a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of twists in the story. That's what makes it such a great story. It follows this ancestry of people down the line, and it describes some instances in their lives, and in many of them they are somehow connected. It's like they're repeating the same mistakes, or they're presented with the same issues. This is seen in Abraham and Sarah when they have Ishmael with the maidservant before they have Isaac. And then it's seen with Isaac and Rebekah when Rebekah's barren and they don't have a child with the maidservant. They decide to wait and they have the twins. So Abraham and Isaac, they have similar issues. They make different choices, but they end up having similar outcomes. Each generation has its own story and they all tie together. And so we start out with Adam and Eve in the garden, and the serpent comes, and the serpent is introduced as a prudent character. It's an intelligent, a character that God made specifically intelligent than any other creature, clearly more intelligent than the humans, is what we're going to come to find out, and more informed than the humans. And the snake goes to Eve and he asks her, just wondering, did God ever tell you not to eat from any of these trees in this garden? And Eve said, no, God said we could eat from the trees. We could eat from all of the trees. Well, except for that one tree. We can't even touch it lest we die. And the serpent responds to Eve and he says, God knows that you won't surely die in the day that you eat from that tree. In fact, you will become like God, knowing good and evil in the day that you eat that tree from that tree. And God knows this. And so Eve, trusting in the serpent over God, she believes what the serpent says. And so she sees that the fruit is good and it's desirable to make one wise. And so she eats it. And of course, the reader's thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to die. And she gave it to Adam and he ate it. They're going to die. And then suddenly they realize they're nude. And they hide themselves and they try to cover themselves up. And then God comes in and they're hiding. And God asks Adam, where are you? And he said, I'm hiding because I'm naked. And God says, who told you were naked? And he said, did you eat from the fruit of the tree that I told you not to eat from? And Adam said, the woman that you gave to me, she gave me the fruit and I did eat. And God looks at the woman and he says, what have you done? And Eve says, the serpent beguiled me. And then God looks at the serpent and he curses the serpent. And in the curse is presented kind of like a riddle. It's confusing to the reader who has no information or background information about this book. It's just picking it up and reading it. They don't know anything about the book yet. And so in the curse, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman. And this is the curse to the serpent. So I will put enmity between you and the woman and between your seed and her seed. and her seed will bruise your head, and your seed will bruise her heel. And this is foreshadowing.
Later on in that chapter, God says to himself, oh crap, they've become like us, knowing good and evil. Now we must take them out of the Garden of Eden and prevent them from living forever.
So fast forward to Jacob and Esau. And Jacob is the one that becomes Israel. Jacob and Esau are still in the womb. And their mother, Rebecca, she's having pain. They don't have ultrasound. So she doesn't know, really what's going on. And she's in severe pain because the babies inside her are wrestling. There's enmity between them. And she goes to God and she said, what's come of me? What's happening? And God says, and here's another riddle. God says, in thy womb are two nations, two manners of people. And the one is stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So this isn't very clear. This is kind of a little bit confusing. And Rebecca takes it as she heard it. She doesn't tell Isaac, her husband. But lo and behold, she has two children. She gives birth, and Esau comes out first. He's described as being ruddy and hairy. And the next child comes out, and that child is grabbing on to the heel of the first, the hairy one. And so this imagery is supposed to tie back into the Garden of Eden and the curse. You have the two seeds, the two nations, the two manners of people, the enmity between the two. Oh, so the serpent wasn't actually a serpent. It was a nation. It was a manner of people. It was a character. It was a personality trait. It was a type of person, a snake, a serpent, a viper. This is something that people use to describe certain types of people who act certain types of ways. And so that's what the reader was supposed to realize, and that's what the writer meant for the reader to realize. This is purposely put in there as a sort of twist, and it adds to the suspense, and it adds to the connection with the book, because then you're connecting this part in the beginning to now, okay, that makes sense. So the serpent seed will bruise the heel of the woman's seed. Jacob and Esau, they're born. They grow up, and Isaac, their father, he loves Esau because Esau is a hunter. He takes a lot of the burden off Isaac. He hunts for the family. And Rebecca, she loves Jacob because of what God had told her. She believes that Jacob's going to get double portion of the inheritance when her husband passes away. And so she wants to team up with Jacob. That's why she loves him. And so when they're born, Jacob is named Jacob because of the fact that he was born grabbing onto Esau's heel. And this is a pejorative, this name. It's a heel grabber, someone who tries to pull people back to take their role. And it's not a really nice thing to be named. The symbolism of it is he is the serpent seed that's bruising the heel of the woman's seed, of the human, of the hairy one. And what Rebecca was told was that the older one was going to serve the younger one. And so the two get older, and Esau's hunting, and he comes back to the tent, and he's famished, and he seems to think he's dying. And I don't think that he was dying, because the narrator doesn't say that he was dying. The narrator said he was faint. And he's asking Jacob for some food that Jacob had been cooking. And Jacob says, yeah, I'll give you the food if you sell me your birthright for it. And Esau said, what good is my birthright if I'm dead? And so he sold his birthright to Jacob for food. Kind of like how the serpent beguiled Eve, and she saw the fruit, that it was good and desirable. And so she took from it and she did eat. And so it's the same dynamic, this food that's being dangled above somebody's face and the food is a symbolism, symbolizing something so desirable that these people are willing to risk their life or give up their birthright for it. You have Isaac. He's getting old, the father. He's old and he's blind, and he loves his son Esau, and he brings him in the tent, and he says, my beloved son, go out and go hunt a meal for us, cook it, bring it back. We're going to sit down to dinner, and I'm going to give you this very special blessing. And so Esau goes to hunt, and Rebecca was eavesdropping, and she goes and runs and grabs Jacob, and she says, Jacob, your father's going to give this special blessing to your brother, but you're going to take it, and we're going to dress you up. You're going to pretend like you're Esau. And Jacob's like, my father's going to know I'm not Esau. I don't have hair on my arms and like Esau. I'm not Esau. And so she's like, well, I'm going to dress you up like Esau. Don't worry. You're not going to be cursed. It's all on me. If something bad happens, just do what I say. And so he goes and gets a lamb out of their farm, and she cooks it, and she puts fur on his arms and on his neck, and she dresses him up in Esau's clothing, and he goes to his father and presents himself as Esau. He says, Father, get out of bed. It's your beloved son Esau. I'm here to get that special blessing. And Isaac says, you don't sound like Esau. You sound a lot like Jacob. And he's like, Father, it's your son Esau. And he puts the food down in front of him, and the food that Rebecca had given to him. And he puts it in front of Isaac. And Isaac says, how in the world did you get this and hunt this and cook this so quickly? And Jacob says, the Lord thy God, he gave it to me. And so Isaac, he's weary. He feels like something's off. And so he eats, and he's drinking wine, and he feels Jacob's arms, and they feel hairy like Esau, and he embraces Jacob and kisses him, and he smells the smell of his son, the hunter, the smell of the fields. And so he decides to give him the blessing, and he gives him the blessing, and in the blessing he says, God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. This is going to come into importance later on. Okay, so then Jacob leaves, skips away with the blessing, and now Esau comes back. He's cooked the food that he hunted and brought it to his father and presented it to his father. Father, get up out of bed. It's your beloved son Esau, and I'm here with the meal so we can sit down and have dinner and get this special blessing that you wanted to give to me. And Isaac says, who are you? And he says, it's Esau. And Isaac just begins to shake and tremble. And he said, your brother beguiled me, and I've given the blessing to him. And Esau is broken. He is crying and shattered. And he says his name was rightfully named Jacob, for he's stolen my blessing and stolen my birthright. And Esau begs his father, is there not one blessing left for me, Father? Not one blessing left for me? Not one? And Isaac gives him a blessing. And in the blessing he says something very similar to what he gave to Jacob, but a little bit different. He says, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau, he was livid. He wanted to kill his brother, but he would never do that to his father. He would never hurt his father and shame his family like that. And so he was going to wait maybe till his father died. And so Rebecca knew this, and she went to Isaac. She wanted to send Jacob away to save his life from Esau. And so she went to Isaac, and she said, Isaac, I don't want Jacob to marry a Hittite. I'm afraid he's going to marry a Hittite like Esau. And we need to get him away. Let's send him away. And because they need Isaac's blessing for this. And so she doesn't just tell him the truth. Remember in the curse to the serpent, I will put enmity between you and the woman, or between the serpent and the human, and between the serpent seed and the human seed. There's going to be enmity between the two. Rebecca is clearly intelligent. She's very good at manipulating her husband. Here we have the same symbolism as in that curse. It's supposed to be understood that way. It's like, okay, well, here's the serpent type people, the manner of people. And so they send Jacob away. They get Isaac's blessing to send him away. They send him away. He goes to his uncle's house and he gets kind of screwed over by them. It's his mom's brother. He gets screwed over by them in a way, but ends up on top by screwing them over even worse.
And while Jacob was living with his uncle, he was forced to marry his cousin Leah in order to marry his younger cousin Rachel, because that's just how it goes. The older marries first and then the younger. And Leah continued to birth children, but Rachel had no children. And so she had Jacob go in on her maidservant, and her maidservant bare a son. And Rachel was really excited, and there's a moment of foreshadowing in this. And Rachel said, "With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed." Just because a character in the book says something is of God, like Eve said Cain was given to her by Yahweh. Jacob told Isaac that the Lord thy God gave me this food, even though it was Rebekah that gave it to him. And he was lying about everything. So the characters in the book can lie and say things are of God when they're not. But you know what the truth is because it's what the narrator tells you. So Jacob's uncle, he no longer likes Jacob. He realizes he's getting screwed over. His sons don't like Jacob, and Jacob overhears this and starts to notice this, and he's afraid again. So he leaves. Just like he left his hometown, he leaves out of fear that he's going to be killed because of screwing people over. And so he runs away, and God tells him to go back home to his hometown, and that's terrifying to Jacob, but he trusts God, and he goes.
But before he goes, or on the way, he has servants periodically, one by one, bringing different gifts of animals to Esau. And he tells his servant, "Bring this to my lord Esau and tell him, your servant Jacob is on his way." A servant comes back after delivering the gift to Esau, and he says, I told your lord Esau what you said. And just to let you know, he's on his way with 400 of his men to meet up with you on the way. And so Jacob is scrambling. He's terrified. He splits up his entire family so that if one of them are ambushed, maybe the rest can try to escape. Because he thinks Esau's on his way to kill me. And so like I said, he sent all those animals in hopes that it would, get Esau to not kill him. Not because he truly wanted forgiveness for what he had done and he felt bad, but because he didn't want Esau to kill him. And we find out here that Esau's not so bad off than we thought he would be. Esau seems pretty well off compared to Jacob. Jacob's living in fear. He's working for somebody for wives, and he's running away with all their things to try to preserve his life over and over. He's constantly looking behind his back, and that's the way his life has been so far. And they're getting old now, and this has been going on his entire life at this point. And so it's, as a reader, you're like, wait, I thought Jacob got the blessing and the birthright, but now it seems to be that Esau's doing pretty well off at this point. And so it's the dark of night. The family has split up and Jacob's alone. And he's wandering alone towards his destination when he's met with a man. And we know it's a man because the narrator tells us it's a man. And he's met there in the dark, and they're wrestling. They begin wrestling, and they're wrestling all night, and the sun is beginning to come up, and the man wants to get away. And Jacob says, "Give me a blessing." And the man says, "What is your name?" And he says, "My name's Jacob." And the man says, "Your name is no longer Jacob. Your name is Israel, because you have wrestled with man and God, and you have overcome." And rewind back to when Jacob stole Esau's blessing from Isaac and Esau. Esau, in his anger, he said, his name is rightfully Jacob. He has usurped my birthright and now stolen my blessing. So that's what Esau had said. And mind you, they hadn't seen each other in 20 years. And now this man, he's renaming Jacob, no longer pejorative. You have a new name. And then Jacob asked the man, what is your name? And the man said, why are you asking my name? Because at this point it's light out and Jacob can see the man's face. And Jacob, he says, I'm going to name this place after. This is where I had seen the face of God. It's daylight now. The guy's gone. And now here comes Esau charging towards Jacob. And as a reader, you're like, okay, Jacob's even injured now. He's been wrestling all night. Now he has to try to save his life from his brother. And his brother's about to attack him. And he's going to die. And so that's what the reader is meant to think. And then Esau, as he's coming to Jacob is bowing down in the dust. And Esau comes and he just charges at Jacob, grabbing him and embracing him, kissing him and crying. And he missed him dearly. It's clear that Esau dearly loves his brother. He didn't bring up anything about the past. He asked, why did you send me these gifts? I don't need your animal sacrifices to forgive you. You're forgiven, basically. And so Jacob, looking at Esau, he looks at him and he says, looking at you is like looking at the face of God. It's almost like he's saying, you wouldn't believe it. I saw God face to face a few hours ago, and now looking at your face, you happen to look a lot like God. And what this is meant for the reader to see at this point, this is a twist. This is a plot twist. The guy in the dark who wanted to stay in the dark that was wrestling with Jacob, that was Esau. They wrestled just like they did in the womb, and they came out into the light, reborn. And Jacob is born again, given a new name. And he doesn't have to be the person that he was told he was supposed to be, that he was named after. He doesn't have to be that person. He can be something better. Something that has wrestled and had issues, but overcame. That's what Esau was trying to give to his brother when he wrestled with him that night. That was the whole thing. And it makes more sense than anything. And the narrator made it clear it wasn't anything supernatural. This was a man that wrestled with Jacob in the dark, didn't want to be seen in the light, and they hadn't seen each other in so long. Of course, he didn't recognize him right away, especially after wrestling all night. Okay, so then Esau says, come with me to my kingdom. I want to go with you. I'll take you and your family there. And Jacob says, I'll go there, but I'll follow you guys. You guys go ahead. And Esau says, let me give you some of my men to go with you, and they'll help you there and make sure you get there safely. And Jacob's like, nah. You guys go ahead. I don't want them to freak out my animals and my kids. Just go ahead and I'll meet you there. And Jacob never goes. And so this is something that I think that Jesus meant for people to understand. And I'm making this video. I don't know if anyone's ever going to see this. I hope that whoever it's meant for, I truly hope whoever it's meant for sees it, because it's hard for me to want. I've been trying to make this video. I've been trying to get this out there because this information was given to me. Today I read this in the Bible where it says, when I tell you something in darkness, go speak it into the light. And what I whisper in your ear, go and shout it from rooftops. And I'm shouting it from the rooftop right now. Esau is a representation of Jesus. The one that was rejected will become the cornerstone. Esau was forgiving. He was loved by his father. We all want to be Jesus. How Jacob so desperately wanted what Esau had. And Jesus said, you can be born again. You can be born into somebody new. And my spirit will be within you. And I will be with you.
And you don't have to give me animal sacrifices for me to love you and forgive you. Come with me to my kingdom. I'll walk with you. I'll send my men to go with you and help you there. Jesus said right before he was crucified, in the Last Supper, he said to his followers, he said,
"The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that doth serve. For whether is greater he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth, is not he that sitteth at meat, but I am among you as he that serveth."
In that blessing, Isaac gave to Jacob when he said, God give you the dew from heaven and the fatness of the earth. That happened. It happened. In Exodus, when they were in the wilderness, they were given the manna. And when Jesus was speaking to the people, they said, like our fathers in the wilderness were given manna by God as a sign. Give us a sign. And Jesus said, your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. I am the true bread from heaven. I am the living manna. I am the living bread. Now remember, let's go back to the blessing. Isaac gave the blessing to Jacob and he said, may God give you the dew from heaven. And that came to pass in the wilderness. But then the blessing to Esau was similar, but it was, your dwelling shall be the dew from heaven and the fatness of the earth. And then he said something really interesting. He said, and by the sword shalt thou live. And that's not a common saying in the Old Testament. It's never said that someone should live by the sword. Because when you say by the sword, like you fall by the sword, is that you're going to be murdered. So when you fall by the sword, that means you're going to die at the hands of somebody else, at the hands of some kind of war or fight. You're going to fight for your life and die. But what Isaac said to Esau, he said, and by the sword shalt thou live. You shall die by the sword and live. That's what he said. And then he said, and you will serve your brother, but when you have the dominion, you will break his yoke from off thy neck. Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden's light. Jesus said the stone that was rejected would become the first cornerstone. Jesus was the woman's seed. He didn't even have a father's seed. He was the woman's seed. Something that's not commonly found in the Old Testament is anything about a woman's seed. That's irrelevant in any other place except for in Genesis 3 in the garden in the curse. So as I was looking into this, I come to find out that in the Quran, which is based off of the Old Testament as well, and it has characters from the New Testament in it. It has Jesus in the Quran. He's one of the most highly spoke about prophets in the Quran. And in that book, Jesus' name is not Jesus. It's Esau. Now in the Apocrypha, in 2nd Ezra, there is mention of Esau and Jacob in that book. Jesus refers to 2nd Ezra more than any other book in the Old Testament. It's found also in the King James Version, in the first King James Version.
What shall I do unto thee, O Jacob? Thou, Judah, wouldest not obey me. I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes. Seeing ye have forsaken me, I will forsake you also. When ye desire me to be gracious unto you, I shall have no mercy upon you. Whensoever ye shall call upon me, I will not hear you. For ye have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit manslaughter. Ye have not, as it were, forsaken me, but your own selves, saith the Lord. Your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind doth stubble, and your children shall not be fruitful. for they have despised my commandment and done the thing that is an evil before me. Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which, not having heard of me, yet shall believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them. They have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. I take to witness the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in spirit they believe the thing that I say. And now, brother, behold what glory! Thus saith the Lord, I brought this people out of bondage, and I gave them my commandments by men servants the prophets, whom they would not hear, but despised my counsels. Go your way, O my children, and ask mercy of the Lord. As for me, O Father, I call upon thee for a witness over the mother of these children, which would not keep my covenant, that thou bring them to confusion, and their mother to a spoil. Thus saith the Lord unto Esdras, Tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel. Their glory also will I take unto me, and give these the everlasting tabernacles which I had prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an ointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. Go, and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Take heaven and earth to witness, for I have broken the evil in pieces, and created the good. For I live, saith the Lord. And those that be dead will I raise up again from their places, and bring them out of the graves, for I have known my name in Israel. Fear not, thou mother of the children, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord. For thy help will I send my servants Esau and Jeremy, after whose counsel I have sanctified and prepared for thee 12 trees laden with divers fruits, and as many fountains flowing with milk and honey, and 7 mighty mountains, whereupon there grow roses, will I send my servants Esau and Jeremy.
This to me is the greatest twist ever written, the greatest conspiracy ever conspired. Because the Jews say Jacob wrestled with God, and the Christians say Jacob wrestled with God, and the book says Jacob wrestled with his brother. So when the Jews say Jacob wrestled with God, and when Jesus said, I am Esau, and the book says Jacob wrestled with Esau, when the Jews believe Jacob was wrestling with God, they weren't wrong, but they also must admit that Jesus is God. Because Jesus is Esau, the one who wrestled with Jacob. And I'm not saying Esau is God, but I'm saying Jesus is Esau, the Son of Man and the Son of God, the woman's seed. So when you agree that Jacob wrestled with God, you're agreeing that Jesus is God, come in the flesh. His dwelling is the dew from heaven and the fatness of the earth. And by the sword, he lived. And the burden was heavy, but he broke the yoke from off his neck, and now it's light. So when the Jews say that Jacob wrestled with God, they're telling the truth, but they're unknowingly admitting that Jesus is God come in the flesh.
He said, don't hate your enemies, instead love them like you love me. What good is it to love those who love me? Ain't no better than the Pharisees. He said the first will be last and the last will be first. He who believes will no longer thirst. He said the kingdom of heaven is surely at hand. Your sins are forgiven by the Son of Man. Beware of wolves dressed up like sheep, with ears to hear and eyes to see. He'll give you as a dove. The flesh is of earth, but the spirit's from above. He said they hate me without cause, don't give them a reason. Your blessings will rain down on you in due season. You could move mountains if you just believe it, but blessed is he that hears God's words and keeps them. His yoke is easy and his burden's light. He'll heal the lame, give the blind man sight. With just a grain of faith, bring the dead alive. He's coming back like a thief in the night. He said don't hate your enemies, instead love them like you love me. What good is it to love those who love me? Ain't no better than the Pharisees. He said the first will be last and the last will be first. He who believe it will no longer thirst. He said the kingdom of heaven is surely at hand. Your sins are forgiven by the Son of Man. Beware of wolves dressed up like sheep, with ears to hear and eyes to see. He'll give you everything you need. Just call on him, he's waiting. Be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. The flesh is of earth, but the spirit's from above. He ain't the God of death, he's the God of life. Came into darkness to bear witness of the light. Wrote it in our flesh, made it known what's wrong from right. His skin shine like the sun and his clothes were white as snow. He wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. The flesh is of earth, but the spirit